This one hurts. This one really stings. Team Canada loses 2-1 in overtime of the gold medal game in women's Olympic hockey to the United States of America. 124 seconds. 124 seconds is all it took. 124 more seconds, and this is a very different video. First off, housekeeping. Switzerland. That was an overtime game where I felt really... Sweden and Switzerland, I feel happy for the both of them. Where Sweden was and where they ended up and where they got to, Sweden should be proud. But Switzerland, what a story. Andrea Brantley, you are a PWHL player. You are definitely gonna see her become an impact player in the future. That's for sure. And Alina Mueller, of course, she's the overtime hero. Congrats, Switzerland. I thought we had it. I really thought we had it. When they pulled the goalie, I was so hopeful that was going to be where we would just score to end it, score to win it. This close. I don't have notes, not because, it's such a big... I couldn't. I was so focused on this game. Okay, there's a lot of good news. First off, this was not a blowout. Like a lot of people, myself included, were worried it could be the case. There is a real argument to be made that the U.S. women's hockey team is the greatest women's hockey team ever assembled, and we got them to the brink. We got them 2 minutes and 4 seconds away from devastation. We had our chances in overtime. And we just couldn't pull it off in the end. But compared to 5, that's one that I've been debating for a while. Is this worse or better? Because I think it would be I'd be more angry if we got blown out again. If this was 5-0. I'd be way more angry. But I wouldn't hurt this much. I also think, when I look at the historical context, that soothes me. US-Canada, it's supposed to be a clash of titans, an epic battle. We have won our fair share of those close games. 2022, 2014, 2010. Of the past 4 Olympics before this, they've all been 1 or 2 goal games that were decided late, Either late because of a late goal, or late because, late in the game, there was, the other team was still very much alive. I think that this emphasizes how this is an epic clash. And if Canada got just, boom, easy out, lost 3, 4, 5-0, US dominates, it might change the landscape a little bit. And this reinforces that this is, the greatest rivalry in all of women's hockey. And I'd even go so far as to say that if Canada won, it would have cheapened that rivalry a little bit. And what am I saying? The US have now won 3 gold medals. Canada has won 5. If Canada had 6 and the US had 2, with one of their 2 being all the way back in 1998, I think the discussion would then have become, is it a rivalry? In the Olympics, like one team just always wins gold and the other team occasionally, like every 20 years, gets it. This is a rivalry. 5 golds to 3 golds. 7 clashes in the gold medal game. Of those 7 clashes, Canada's won 4, the US has won 3. That is a rivalry of epic proportions. One where I am excited for 2030. I'm excited for November. In the World Championship, this is something where anybody who watched this game, who wasn't a fan of women's hockey before, who did not care about the Canada-US rivalry, probably has a vested interest. Probably wants to see what happens next. This is a game that gets eyes on the PWHL because you want to see how it's going to play out now that these teams go back to now that these players go back to their PWHL teams, and how that's going to shake out. It's why I love women's hockey, because I've seen so many epic clashes like this. And yeah, if Canada won 6 of 7, if Canada won 6 of 7, I think the conversation afterwards would be, is the US cursed? Right? Because this was the team of destiny. Like, I'll admit it. The United States was the team of destiny. We were the team that honestly went in as the underdog and was trying to force an epic underdog victory. And I think making it a close battle of titans after the rivalry series, after the round robin, is a victory in its own sense. It kind of brings us back to where we were. It was starting to look like hockey was getting away from us, that women's hockey was starting to become a US thing, and that Canada was lagging sorely behind. And Anne-Renee Desbiens plays amazing, plays lights out, as does Frankel. Okay, first off, I want to, the refs, terrible. Both sides, lots of missed calls. I think that, I'm not going to complain because there were times where I was like, we got away with that, and then other times where I'm like, they got away with that. I think that they really let us play. Both sides. So, I don't think that affected the winner because they really let both sides play. They didn't call that much, especially in the third. Canada scores in the second period short-handed. O'Neill scores short-handed on a breakaway to give Canada the 1-0 lead. That US team gave up 2 goals all tournament. One of them was shorthanded to Canada. This US team scored 5 goals or more every single game this tournament until this game, where we held them goalless for 57 minutes and 56 seconds. But damn, I gotta admit, when they pulled the goalie, I had a feeling that we were going to score again, that we were going to do the impossible, do the unthinkable. And instead, Hilary Knight, because it has to be Hilary Knight, scores. And then Megan Keller, in overtime, scores the golden goal for the United States of America. I thought that our first period was the best period anyone played against the United States. I thought the second period was even better. I thought the second period was the worst period the US had all tournament. We made them not just look human, look frighteningly human. There were times where we were outplaying them. And I think we got too cautious. In the third period, we got a power play with 6 and change to go. Now, it was nearly a death blow. Britta Curl, I can't stand that. I don't even want to talk about her. Can't stand her. And that hit. If it's anyone else, I would maybe I'd hear you out. That's a like, come on. It's the player who keeps doing this, these dirty hits so consistently. But you know what? She got called. I just can't be mad. If that's a 5-minute major, that probably would have cost the US the gold. That probably would have done them in. And instead, it's 2 minutes. And honestly, that power play looked like Canada was trying to burn clock. Instead of pushing, instead of pressing, instead of trying to seal it. The whole third period, we looked like a team trying to defend a lead, a 1-goal lead against a machine. You don't do that. I don't think it, as like in my experience watching hockey, that never works. When you're trying to defend a lead, at the very least, be the overdog, right? Be the team that controls play throughout the tournament. Look, if Canada and the United States face each other in men's hockey, I think Canada is that favorite. And if they are up 1-0 in the third and opt to just stop the US, I still would disagree. But I would trust it a bit more because I'd be like, you know what? Who has more firepower? Canada. Who has more firepower? I think it's the US. So instead of just saying, oh, let's just try to, let's try to not be aggressive. Be aggressive. Nail in the coffin. Because you don't want to see that 6-on-5. And we did, and they scored. We did, and they scored. And it's like, if you just played a bit more aggressive in the third, we took our foot off the gas. Which, yeah, good and bad. Good because it makes me think that Canada could have won. That maybe things aren't as dire as some have framed it out to be. And that if Team Canada just kept their foot on the gas a little bit more, they could have won this game. Thus meaning, like, we don't have to worry about the 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029 IIHF World Championships, that by 2030, we aren't going to be like, oh my gosh, Canada didn't even make it to the semis. Oh, like, let's stop being alarmists for a second and recognize that this team could have won gold. That this team was very capable of winning gold. That this is not the end of days. And now the U.S. is going to forevermore dominate women's hockey. That's not the case. On another level, this makes me wonder if jobs have been lost or saved as a result. Kingsbury and Man, I'm specifically thinking of. After that 5-0 game, if we lost like that in the gold medal, they're gone. They are not going to be doing the tournament in November. We'd be finding somebody else. I'd be saying, ring up Carla, see if she's willing to part ways with Czechia. If this was another brutal loss, then we would be seeing heads roll from Hockey Canada. We would be seeing, venerated vets of management disappear overnight. This is the kind of thing where you can say, see, it wasn't that bad. I will say, I still think the roster construction wasn't great. Like, perfect example. Look at overtime. America was faster. Yeah, a player like Rebecca Leslie would have been so useful in overtime. She's known to score clutch goals in the PWHL. She's fast. She can keep up with those young American players. Maybe having someone like her could have tipped the balance. Or maybe she would have been that aggressive player on a late power play that could have made it a 2-0 deficit. That, I'm going to be honest, if we scored on that power play late in the third, the U.S. is not coming back. That would have been a death blow. Like that, we weren't willing to deliver the death blow. We scored one, and the hope was that we could just hold on tight, close your eyes. This is the U.S. women's hockey team. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You know, if you've been watching Olympic hockey, what a wild ride. Canada, Czechia, overtime. Late goal forces overtime. Canada wins. Finland, Switzerland. Switzerland's up by 2 late. Finland with 2 late goals, one with under 2 to go. Finland wins in overtime. U.S. Sweden quarterfinals in the men's tournament. The U.S. is up by 1 with under 2 to go. Sweden ties it up. The U.S. ends up winning in overtime. Then we get Sweden, Switzerland in the women's bronze medal game. Now, it wasn't a late goal to tie it, but still goes to overtime. And late in overtime, Switzerland wins it. And then the gold medal game between Canada and the United States. Canada with a late lead. The U.S. ties it with under 3 to go. And the U.S. wins the gold. What a wild ride. If you are, like, a neutral hockey fan, you don't need coffee. I can tell you that. You don't need coffee. Just keep watching Olympic hockey. I'm proud of this team. And I would have been proud no matter what, obviously, but I think everybody knows what I mean when I say, like, I'm glad that I'm really proud. This was, I think, more credit than most gave Team Canada. They proved themselves quite a bit. It stings. It sucks. Most of them are already gold medalists. And like I said, from an outsider's perspective, this is good for the rivalry. Canada winning in 02, 06, 10, 14, 22, 26. And they lost in shootout of 2018. It's terrible for a rivalry. That's not even a rivalry. That's just one team winning the gold medal game every time, except when it goes to shootout. That's not a rivalry. This, 2014, overtime. Canada comes back and wins. 2018, overtime is enough, goes to a shootout. The United States win. 2022, the U.S. scores late. It's just not enough. 2026, overtime. The past 4 Olympics have been Canada, United States, down to the last second of the game and beyond. This completely makes me believe that we are going to end the streak against the U.S. soon enough. You know, November or the rivalry series, Canada's going to get one. Right now, the U.S. is super hot, and we've been hot. We've been hot for a while. We've been, since 2010, really, we've been the unstoppable force. This is the exception that proves the rule. If you want to be a juggernaut, you need to lose every so often so that your wins mean something. Right? Like, nobody cares about Olympic basketball. Oh, the U.S. won. Wow. Ooh, no way. Right? It feels like a meaningless victory. It feels like, well, no, duh. They had no, like, now they have competition. And now it's somewhat interesting. If you have no one who's real competition, who cares? But this emphasizes how great this rivalry is. Does it suck as a Canadian? Big time. These next 4 years are going to stink. And some world championships would surely make the sting lessen. But until 2030, this is going to suck. But I have faith in 2030. I have faith that we can compete with the best. And that does it for the Olympics in women's hockey. Next time I'm talking about women's hockey, it will be when the Ottawa Charge are back in action, and I am so excited for that. All the Charge players that were at the tournament, I thought did well. It'll be exciting to welcome them back. Gotta be honest, there's a small part of me that's glad Phillips didn't play this game because I'd be mad. I'd be very mad at her. And let's just hope that on tomorrow, Canada punches their ticket to gold in the men's, and on Sunday, they win it. Sometimes you can't deny destiny. But we came damn close. I'm proud. I'm not any less proud of being Canadian now than I am before this game started. And to everyone on Team Canada, put your heart out there. The entire nation is proud of you. And as always, go Canada.